There is a memory you have kept for years, and it is not real. Not a lie. Not something you made up. Something better and worse. It is a memory you have loved and returned to and told at dinner tables. A childhood room, a face, a moment that shaped you. You can see it right now if you close your eyes. And every single time you have looked at it, you have changed it. You think of memory as a recording, a photograph in a drawer, a film reel in a vault, waiting patiently for you to take it out and play it back. Something that fades perhaps, but never something that lies. But the real answer is far stranger. Your memory is not a recording at all. It is a reconstruction, rebuilt from scratch every time you reach for it, and every rebuild leaves fingerprints. The act of remembering is the act of editing, and the memories you trust most are the ones you have rewritten most. Let me show you how we found out. In the 1970s, a psychologist named Elizabeth Loftus began asking a simple question. Could you change what a person remembers just by changing how you ask about it? She showed people a film of a car accident. Then she asked them how fast the cars were going, but she asked different people using different words. Some were asked how fast the cars were going when they hit each other. Others, how fast when they smashed into each other. Same film, same crash, one word different, one word different. The people who heard smashed gave higher speeds. That alone is interesting. But then Loftus brought them back a week later and asked a new question. Did you see any broken glass? There was no broken glass, not a single shard anywhere in that film. The people who had heard the word smashed were far more likely to remember seeing it. Glass that never existed had appeared in their memory, placed there by a single verb a week earlier. They were not lying. They could see it. Their brains had quietly written it in. So think about what that means. If one word can install a shard of glass, what has a lifetime of retelling done to the story of your own childhood? Loftus went further than glass. Years later, she and her colleagues tried something bolder. They gathered stories from people's families, real childhood events, and slipped one false story in among them. A time, they claimed, when the person had been lost in a shopping mall as a small child. Frightened, crying, eventually rescued by an elderly stranger. It never happened. Not to any of them. But after being asked to think about it, to try to recall it, a quarter of the participants remembered it. Not vaguely. Some described the stranger's clothing, the feeling of panic, the moment they saw their mother again. They filled in details nobody had given them, because that is what a brain does with a gap. It builds. And once it has built, it cannot tell you which bricks came from the world and which came from itself. To understand why your brain works this way, you have to understand what happens the moment you remember something. Here is the assumption almost everyone carries. You form a memory. It hardens, like concrete setting. Scientists call that hardening consolidation, which just means the memory moves from fragile and temporary into stable and lasting. Once it sets, the thinking went, it stays set. But in the year 2000, a neuroscientist named Karim Nader found something that broke this picture open. He worked with rats. He taught them to fear a sound by pairing it with a small shock, a memory that was old, settled, thoroughly consolidated. Then, while they were remembering that sound, he blocked their brains from making new proteins. Proteins are the raw material a brain uses to build a lasting memory. If memory were a recording, nothing should have happened. The tape was already made. The memory vanished. Not weakened. Gone. The rats no longer feared the sound at all, and here is the part that matters. If Nader blocked the proteins without first making them remember, the fear stayed perfectly intact. Do you see what that means? The act of remembering had unlocked the memory. Pulling it up made it soft again, temporarily unstable, and it had to be physically rebuilt afterward using new proteins before it could be stored away. Scientists call this reconsolidation. Every retrieval opens the file. Every retrieval requires a resave. And anything that happens while the file is open can get written in. Your mood right now. The room you are sitting in. The person you are telling the story to and the way their face responds. The detail you added last time because it made the story land better. All of it seeps into the memory as it rebuilds, and next time, that is what you will find waiting for you. You are not visiting your past. You are rewriting it quietly in the present tense. So what does that do to the memories you are most sure about? There is a particular kind of memory that feels different from all the rest. The moment you learned terrible news, where you were standing, what you were holding, the light in the room. Psychologists call these flashbulb memories because they feel like a photograph taken by a flash, burned in, permanent. They feel more certain than any other memory you own. A researcher named Ulrich Neisser tested this. The morning after the Challenger space shuttle disaster in 1986, he had students write down exactly how they heard the news. Then he waited 2.5 years and asked them again. The accounts had changed dramatically. People remembered being in different places, hearing from different people, doing different things. Some were wrong about nearly every detail. Now here is the disturbing part. When they were shown their own handwriting from the morning after, many refused to believe it. They trusted the false memory more than the evidence in their own hand. Their confidence had not faded with the accuracy. It had grown. Because every time they told the story, they rebuilt it, and every rebuild made it feel more familiar, and your brain reads familiarity as truth. Sit with that for a moment. Confidence and accuracy came apart completely. The two things you have always used as a single measure, how sure you feel and how right you are, turned out to be separate machines running side by side, sometimes pointing in opposite directions. You have no internal alarm for a false memory. It arrives feeling exactly like a true one. That is the trap. The memories you have rehearsed the most, the ones you would swear to, the ones that feel bright and vivid and certain, are precisely the ones that have been through the most edits. Vividness is not evidence. It never was. Which raises the obvious question. If memory is this unreliable, why on earth would evolution build it this way? Because memory was never designed to be a record. It was designed to be a tool. Ask yourself what a memory is actually for. Not for nostalgia, not for accuracy. Its only job is to help you survive the next thing that happens. And the next thing that happens will never be identical to the last thing. It will be similar and different, and you will need to adapt. A perfect recording of a specific afternoon is nearly useless. What you need is the gist, the pattern, the lesson, updated with everything you have learned since. A brain that could not update its memories would be a brain trapped in a world that no longer exists, carrying warnings that no longer apply. Picture an ancestor who learned that a particular waterhole was safe. Then, one season, a predator moved in. If her memory were a sealed recording, she would walk back toward the old certainty and die of it. What saved her was a memory that could be opened, revised, and closed again with the new danger written inside. The updating was not a flaw in the system. The updating was the system. So your brain built something better than a filing cabinet. It built a living model of the world, one that revises itself every time you touch it. The flexibility that makes memory unreliable is the very same flexibility that makes it useful. The bug and the feature are the same thing. And there is something almost hopeful hidden in that. Researchers have begun to test whether traumatic memories, opened by recall and then softened while they are unstable, can be stored back in a gentler form. The same mechanism that lets a single word install broken glass may also let a person set down something heavy they have carried for years. The door that lets errors in is the door that lets healing through. Now step back into your own life. Think of your favorite story about yourself. The one you tell at parties. The one that explains who you are. You have told it 100 times, and each telling was a rebuild, and each rebuild was shaped by the audience, and by who you were that year, and by who you wanted to be. That story is not a window into the past. It is a portrait, painted 100 times by 100 slightly different versions of you, and the person you love most. Your first memory of them is not preserved. It has been passed through every argument, every reconciliation, every quiet Tuesday since. What you remember of the beginning has been colored by everything that came after. You are not remembering them as they were. You are remembering them through who they became. Is that a loss? Or is it the only honest way a mind could ever hold another person? There is something strange and gentle in this. It means your past is not fixed behind you like a wall. It is alive, moving, still being written, and you are the one holding the pen. The child in that memory is not trapped there. You can go back with what you know now and see them differently, and that new seeing becomes part of what is stored. Not because you are lying to yourself, because that is simply how memory has always worked. You just never noticed you were doing it. So the next time you reach for something precious and old, know what you are doing. You are not opening a drawer. You are lighting a fire and warming your hands and setting it back down slightly changed. There is a memory you have kept for years. It was never real. It was always yours, being made, again, in the moment you thought of it.